What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another daily Manchester City transfer update. Before I do crack on with today's update, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single day here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news. It looks like it's going to be a busy end to this transfer window. You do want to stay up to date, so do subscribe. It's free. Social media links are in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on today's video as well. We're aiming for 400 likes, and do get your thoughts as well in the comments below. So, no contract news to speak about today. We're going to dive straight on in with the outs. We've got the very latest on Claudio Echeverri, and CalcioMercato in Italy have said that Echeverri doesn't want to go on loan to Girona. He wants to go on loan to AS Roma. AS Roma, of course, wanted a loan with a purchase option included, which Manchester City rejected last week, where Roma bid for a season-long loan with an obligation to buy worth £28 million, with a buyback clause set at around £34 million. Since that rejection's come in, AS Roma have compromised, and they are now preparing a loan offer, which is going to be a loan only with no purchase option. We'll see if Manchester City do accept this, as Manchester City, we already know, want Claudio Echeverri on loan at Girona, and they only want him on loan at Girona with a straight loan. So with AS Roma now seemingly willing to offer the same, and the player wanting to move to AS Roma, what is going to happen now? Will it be AS Roma? Will it be Girona? Will it be someone else? The loan saga does continue. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on James McAtee, and Ben Jacobs has said that an agreement is now in place between Manchester City and Nottingham Forest for James McAtee, with Nottingham Forest hoping to have this transfer sorted by the end of the week. Previous reports, as we were saying in yesterday's transfer update, are saying that a fee somewhere between 27 and 30 million pounds has been agreed between Manchester City and Nottingham Forest when it comes to the transfer of James McAtee. We're just waiting now for official agreements and everything to be put in place, and then it will involve James McAtee obviously going over to Nottingham to complete his medical, sign his contract and become a Nottingham Forest player. I suspect we'll get some developments on this in the next 24 hours or so. And speaking of Nottingham Forest, moves us nicely onto an update on Rico Lewis. We're in crazy transfer rumour season at the moment, and apparently Manchester City have had a bid of €25 million plus €5 million in add-ons from Nottingham Forest for them to try and sign Rico Lewis from Manchester City. That's £21.62 million plus £4.32 million in add-ons in today's currency exchange rate. That is a deal worth just under £26 million at £25.94 million in total. Rico Lewis is a 20-year-old who's under contract at Manchester City, a very versatile player. He's got 3 years left on his contract, and Manchester City are currently working to try and get Rico Lewis onto a new contract. So firstly, when I heard these reports, I was thinking to myself that maybe this is a tactic that's been used to try and speed up the potential of a new contract for Rico Lewis. But if Manchester City were interested in letting Rico Lewis go, and it would free up a potential right-back spot to be signed, which I don't think is going to happen, realistically, what would we be looking at when it comes to a potential transfer for Rico Lewis? Because for me, I think what would represent a fair value in today's market, with 3 years left on his contract, taken into his potential and age into account as well, I think I'd probably be looking for a lot more than £26 million. I'd probably be looking here at somewhere between £30 and £40 million. I just can't see Nottingham Forest going near that number, and I can't see Rico Lewis being overly that keen on leaving Manchester City. So for me, rumour mill going into overdrive. Don't think there's anything more in this other than that, and yeah, we'll move on. So we've got the very latest on Jack Grealish, and it is now official that Jack Grealish has signed for Everton on loan from Manchester City. He won't be able to play in the Premier League against Manchester City. Everton have included an option to buy worth £50 million for next summer. With Jack Grealish having just 1 year left on his City contract, and he will be 31 next summer, I am certain that Everton will not be taking up the option to activate that clause. For me, Man City should have been setting it at a more affordable price if they were serious about about Jack Grealish leaving, obviously on a permanent basis. I don't think City want to hit a ceiling value when it comes to Jack Grealish. So let's say we made it an affordable £20 million. No club would be paying over £20 million next summer, and I don't think City want the limit. So they've set themselves a higher clause that's included in this contract at £50 million. We know full well that we wouldn't get £50 million for a player who has 1 year left on his contract, but if we'd set it at £20 million, then of course City would struggle to get any more than that if Jack Grealish ends up having a fantastic season with Everton, which I'm sure that he will. Now, The Athletic have said that Everton are going to cover 75% of Jack Grealish's wage. He's currently on £300,000 a week at Manchester City. 75% of that is £225,000 a week, which is a lot more than what I was expecting Everton to be able to offer to Manchester City. But it also means that with all of his wage not being covered, that City are going to be covering the other £75,000 a week, which, when we look and crunch the numbers, that's set at £3.9 million over the year. We're paying £3.9 million for Jack Grealish not to play for us, which is madness. We are still awaiting if a loan fee has been paid for this transfer. If we do get word of that, of course, I will keep you guys up to date with. Now, moving on, we've got the latest on Savinho, and Rob Dawson has said that Manchester City will only sell Savinho this summer if Savinho tells Manchester City that he wants to leave. He says that Manchester City will sign another attacker this month if Savinho does end up leaving, so I don't think this is a planned transfer from Manchester City, and the ball very much now remains in Savinho's court, and we'll wait to see if Tottenham come in with a second offer. They obviously made an offer earlier this week worth around £43 million, well below Manchester City's value for Savinho, and it all depends on, does Savinho want to go, and if he does want to go, I think he's got to communicate that to Manchester City, and I think that's very much the same in terms of an update on Ederson. So Mercato have said that Galatasaray are preparing to offer Ederson a 3-year contract worth €8 million a year, which is £6.92 million, which split over a week, it works out at £133,000 a week. Ederson, according to Google, is on £100,000 a week, so that would be a pay rise for Ederson. Anyway, Mercato have gone on to say that Manchester City are believed to be asking for around €13 million, which is £11.25 million for Ederson this summer. Let's not forget, he's also into his 30s and has got 1 year left on his Manchester City contract. Galatasaray are prepared to pay Manchester City around €7 million, so at the moment they're €6 million short in value, which is £6.05 million. Apparently these negotiations are going to continue. Manchester City, should Ederson leave, want to line up Gigi Donnarumma, which was speaking about in yesterday's transfer update, as a potential Ederson replacement. Now, the Manchester Evening News have said that Manchester City want Ederson to stay at the club, and they've planned for Ederson to stay, and they want him to see out his contract. Man City have brought in James Trafford with the aim that he will become Man City's new number one once Ederson leaves next summer upon the expiry of his contract. The Manchester Evening News have said that Manchester City haven't denied interest in Donnarumma should Ederson leave this summer, and it's the same thoughts from Jack Gaughan as well. City aren't denying that there is interest in Donnarumma, but whilst Man City have had no contact from any club for Ederson, their stance remains the same from last month and the month before, that they want Ederson to stay and they regard him as not for sale unless Ederson communicates to Manchester City that he wants to leave now, into which case a deal would have to be negotiated, and City are still waiting for concrete offers to come in, which, despite rumours coming in yesterday that them offers have come into Manchester City, sources close to City are saying that that isn't the case, so we'll see what does happen. Sky Sports have said that Manchester City don't regard Ederson as for sale, and they simply don't want to sell him this summer. They've had no approaches, no formal bids as of yet, despite some rumours of Galatasaray's interest, so I'm very much keeping my eyes and ears open when it comes to this transfer. I'm not suggesting the information that was reported yesterday was lies, it's just a basic understanding of what's happening, and words that we're hearing from the players' camp and the players' entourage and agent are very different to what we're hearing from the official source of the club. The club are always going to be very professional, they're always going to be very prudent when it comes to potential transfers, so until things are very much official and done and dusted, the stance is always going to be the same, that they're not going to want to comment. I'm surprised surprised that Man City have even allowed sources to contact them and give them some information. Normally City would just say that their understanding is that Man City don't want to sell him and leave it at that because they don't have to give any more information, but they have, which tells me that potentially there is some movement in the background, so I'll keep my eyes and ears open with developments on that. Now moving on to the ins, we've got the very latest on Adam Wharton, and the Mail have said that Manchester City are keeping an interest in Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace. Liverpool, Manchester United, Tottenham Hotspur, Manchester City and surprisingly Real Madrid are all keeping tabs on Adam Wharton. I do suspect that if Adam Wharton is still a Crystal Palace player next summer, that because he's homegrown, Manchester City would be interested, and in particular with the fact that Ilkay Gundogan and Bernardo Silva are expected to leave upon the expiries of their contracts, that City would be interested in Adam Wharton, and also Mateo Kovacic's future a little uncertain as well, so I think that might just be something that I keep an eye on. For the remainder of this window, I'm not expecting City to make a move, but another club might, and that would take Adam Wharton off as being an option for City next summer, because Adam Wharton could still be a good option for City heading into next summer when City wants more luck at their midfield. And speaking of midfielders, takes us nicely onto an update on Maghnes Akliouche. I hope I pronounced his name correctly. Now, he plays for AS Monaco. He's a 23-year-old French attacking midfielder. And Florian Plettenberg has said that Manchester City have added Akliouche to their transfer wish list should Savinho leave this summer, as Manchester City would be looking for a replacement. So I presume what we're looking at here is a contingency to Rodrygo. AS Monaco are believed to be asking for around €70 million, which is £60.45 million, but it's also believed that Inter Milan are holding some interest in Akliouche, so it's quite difficult to differentiate between is the interest from City genuine, or is City's name just being used here to try and get Akliouche a better deal with either AS Monaco or from Inter Milan or another interested party. We'll wait and see, but going off what Fabrizio Romano has said, which is word coming in from Akliouche's camp, he's saying that he's playing this down pretty much, and he says that when it comes to City's priority, should Savinho leave this summer, then Rodrygo remains very much option A for Manchester City. Now moving on, we've got the very latest on Gigi Donnarumma, and the Mail have said that Galatasaray, who are now back in negotiations with Manchester City over Ederson, has managed to pique Manchester City's interest in Donnarumma, and they're saying that City's interest in Donnarumma is legit, which I think we're all going to sit here, none of us are going to deny the fact that City seem very interested in Donnarumma right now. Now Donnarumma looks like he's definitely going to be leaving PSG this summer. He had written a statement yesterday saying farewell on his social media accounts to PSG. So the big question here is, where is Donnarumma going to end up? Now, L'Équipe in France have said that Manchester City have spoken to Pep about Donnarumma and got his clearance. Manchester City have held some initial talks with Donnarumma's camp yesterday, and Donnarumma's camp sounds very keen on the transfer and given the green light from both their end and also the players' end as well. And it is believed that there are some initial agreements in place over personal terms, but a fee does still need to be agreed between Manchester City and PSG when it comes to a potential transfer for Donnarumma. This would need Ederson, of course, to leave Manchester City this summer before Donnarumma was to be brought in. Now, L'Équipe have said that PSG will ask for less than what they paid for Lucas Chevalier from Lille. It's believed that PSG had paid €40 million plus €15 million in add-ons to bring him in. That's £34.59 million plus £12.97 million in add-ons. Donnarumma's got just 10 months left on his contract, just like Ederson does as well, so I imagine City will want to negotiate on that fee. Now, L'Équipe have said that Manchester City have known for weeks that Ederson wants to leave and is keen on joining Galatasaray. Manchester City have been waiting for Galatasaray to try and make things formal, which they believe their understanding was that came yesterday, with Manchester City now acting to try and find a replacement, but English sources close to City are saying that they don't think that that is the case. Now, Donnarumma's agent has confirmed that Donnarumma is going to be leaving PSG this summer. He says that with all the money involved to sign him from PSG, he's more than likely going to end up in the Premier League, as they've got the most money to be able to offer PSG a good amount for Donnarumma to sign for them. He says that when it comes to negotiating any transfer with PSG, it's all about money, and it's very much all PSG care about. Gloves off between Donnarumma's camp and PSG. Clearly a breakdown in communication and relationships between the two parties, and Donnarumma very much will be leaving PSG this summer. Donnarumma is a 26-year-old Italian international goalkeeper at Paris Saint-Germain and very much of interest to Manchester City should Ederson leave, and that is the key here when it comes to potential incomings for Manchester City. It needs players to leave first before players can be brought in. Ederson leaves, they want Donnarumma. Savinho leaves, they want Rodrygo. Should we see anybody else leave, are they going to want to replace them? Well, other than the players that we already know who are going to be leaving, obviously we've seen Jack Grealish leave, we're expecting James McAtee to leave, we're expecting Stefan Ortega to leave. These players are not going to be replaced, but when it comes to players who are expected to be in the City first team squad for the upcoming season, if they leave, then they will need replacing in this window, and it very much suggests to me here that Manchester City, if they do end up selling players, which is very much still possible, then City very much still active in this transfer window. Very much an ever-changing situation. We've had some big developments in the last 24 to 48 hours on these transfers, and I'm expecting that to be the same over the coming days as well. And lastly, guys, whilst I was piecing together today's transfer update, we've had a big update come in the form of Rodrygo from Real Madrid, and Jack Gaughan has said that Savinho is uncertain over his future role at Manchester City. Because there's some uncertainty, should the club do some business with Tottenham Hotspur for Savinho, Manchester City want to turn their attentions towards signing Real Madrid's Rodrygo, which Fabrizio Romano has replied to that tweet that came in from Jack Gaughan via City Extra by giving a little emoji on that transfer, very much confirming that it is a case that Savinho, if he is thinking about leaving Manchester City, as long as Tottenham Hotspur pay the Manchester City price and negotiate on that transfer, then the transfer for Savinho does become quite doable, and it does look like Rodrygo is that player that Manchester City want to sign should Savinho leave the club this summer. And I'd argue and suggest that in terms of things being as reliable and as confident over Rodrygo joining Manchester City, I don't think in terms of Fabrizio Romano and Jack Gaughan we're getting much more reliability on that. So it's all a case now, does Savinho want that move to Tottenham, and how much are Tottenham prepared to push for to make that transfer happen? An ever developing situation which I will keep you guys up to date with every single day here on YouTube, so do stay tuned for that one. But a real big update when it comes to Rodrygo potentially joining Manchester City. It is going to need Savinho, of course, to leave the club first to make the transfer happen. Just like with Donnarumma, it would take Ederson to leave City to make that transfer possible. Do stay tuned to my channel. I'll keep you up to date every single day here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news, so do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe, easiest way to stay up to date. Also, don't forget social media links there in the description too if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Also, don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below, and do leave a thumbs up on today's video. 400 likes is the aim, and I'll see you all again religiously tomorrow for the next daily Manchester City transfer update. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.